Happy Devil's Monday. This is the Woo Report. The Woo Report. Coming back to you live for the first time in 2025. Talking some hot button issues around the league, around the world. I'm your host, Sam Woo, with special guest, my co-host on Game Day Live, the Let's Go Devils Podcast Sunday edition, amongst others. He's also the EBUB, emergency backup broadcaster for the Let's Go Devils Podcast Network, as we're streaming live on Facebook Live, YouTube Live, X Live, and Twitch on the Let's Go Devils Network. Inside the bunker in an undisclosed location, beautiful New Jersey, and the Primetime Radio Studios at the highest point of the Garden State. It's Short Sky. Welcome, Short Sky.
What's going on, Sam? I always forget I don't want to use the word somber, but the different tone in intro music that the Woo Report has versus, Devils After Dark, The Big Show, for Game Day. I always forget. And I'm like, oh, this is kind of like nice. And then you start yelling into your microphone.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And it's like, it's the Woo Report. It's the Woo Report. Like, people don't realize people do this to me at Prudential Center. They'll see me like, oh, I know you. Woo Report. Woo Report. Remember that guy, George? I haven't found George.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
yep.
George. Oh, Woo Report. Woo Report. Like, he was all, like, amazed as I'm, like, eating, like, ice cream in front of him.
Then there's the morning woo.
Oh, yeah. You know what? It could come back. It could come. No, it's all because of work schedule. It's not because I want to do it. Brooke Amanda says it sounds like elevator music. No, it's supposed to sound newsy. Newsy and commentary.
Like elevator music.
Yeah, it's like kind of like the news, the cable news channels. We're like, in the news today. I don't know. Anyway, so
can I? Before we get started, can I just address a question from Michael Descala in the chat?
Sure.
So Michael Descala asked me if we're down a couple and the game is clearly over and the other team is still taking clappers, does this annoy you? Michael Descala, it does. However, because I'm so competitive, I'm still willing to just go all out as best I can. But I also luck out because I play in a league and in a division where most of us know each other. And even though everyone still tries to the very end of the game, they're not real douchey about it. But it annoys me, but I still play really hard to the very end because I hate giving up on a game.
May I answer that question as a non-goalie?
Yes, you may. I
play to zero. That's it.
That's what I did.
Yeah, that's called 100%, okay? In my mind, and me, Short Sky, I'm like analytical. Like, look, if I've got 4 seconds, that means I got second for each goal if we're down by 4. Like, that's how I think, right?
Yeah. And I still want to make sure every puck stays out of the net. So
yeah,
hopefully that answers your question, Michael. So all right, Sam, let's get
I got a compliment from Brooke Amanda. It sounds newsy and official. Official. Okay, official. Thanks. All right.
We don't know what kind of official you like. Official what? But it's official something. That's for darn sure.
You know what? We're professional. Remember the Piha League? We're professional. All right. So here's the topic at hand. All right.
Yeah.
National anthem and Four Nations. Right. We're not going to get into geopolitical differences. We're not going to get into the what happened today, current events, whatever, because it's irrelevant in why we are bringing up this topic today on this podcast, because we want to focus on Four Nations, NHL hockey, national anthem. It's come to our attention. I believe it was in Ottawa first, I think, and then in Vancouver. Was it 2 cities that I got right?
Then it happened in Toronto at a basketball game, too.
Yeah.
I don't know if it was Ottawa or Toronto. But
so the NBA is not immune. The NBA is not immune to this, right? Obviously, booing the national anthem, the United States national anthem in Canada has happened. We're talking about facts here. But, of course, out of all times, the NHL decides to put kibosh to the All-Star game and have this like unique, brand new Four Nations tournament, leaving out like other nations, but four nations.
There's 4 nations in the world apparently that play hockey.
Yeah,
these are the 4
that they can agree to.
Yeah,
you decided now on the international stage to have an international kind of competition on the biggest stage in the biggest league in the world. Now you decide to have a Four Nations tournament. So I'd like to discuss.
Mm-hmm.
Let's start with the booing.
Okay.
Now, I want to preface this to the audience. We respect all opinions. The opinions here are our own. It doesn't mean that I'm going to influence your opinion or Shorts Guy's opinion. Although Shorts Guy, you're going to win brownie points if you take my opinion. But what we do here on the Woo Report is have high-level discussions, thoughtful discussions, educational discussions without being inflammatory. This is not to troll. Not to troll at all. But just kind of have a discussion and conversation about it. And also bring you, the audience, involved as well. Because it is something that bothers me.
Mm-hmm.
I take the position, I don't like booing. I'm all about freedom of speech, but I don't like booing. Okay, I think, to me, my opinion is it's an appropriate time to do it. I know why people do it. I know people are passionate on their views, and I respect that because a lot of people struggle. A lot of people want to get their points across. There are not many platforms. Like you and I have a beautiful platform where people are listening,
Yes.
but majority of people don't. And that's sad because they're always squelched in the conversation of any kind of hot button topic, right? So I'm just going to say I don't like it. I think it's too negative. It's divisive. I'd rather be in a public setting where we can find common ground on something like love and hockey, use hockey as a distraction from the everyday madness that goes on in our world. So that's me. I'd like to hear what you think.
Well, as the child of someone who served in the military, it's not anything that I like to see or hear, but at the same time, I'm also okay with it happening because if it's your right to do it. You're allowed to voice an opinion like that, whether you agree with it or I agree with it or don't agree with it. I mean, you're allowed to voice your opinion with it. And as far as you just kind of said it that a lot of people are kind of squelched with their opinions.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people do have the internet, and a lot of people do, do go off on the internet. But it's if you're going to make a statement, I think you've got that audience captured right there at the stadium, and you've got the media outlets there. That's how you're going to make your position heard. Then guess what? That's how people get around that. Not having that voice. They're going to take advantage of these situations where they can.
Mm-hmm.
I know not a lot of broadcasts have or will show the national anthem, and to be honest, we're the only country in the world that does it. Now Canada does it because the 5 major sports leagues, 6 major sports leagues, 7 with the all the men's and women's are 8. There's more than just the 4. We're conditioned to think, there's only 4, but there's more than that. They're mostly U.S. based, if they're not all U.S. based, which is probably where not the procedure. I guess you would say procedure to do it beforehand comes in place. Mm-hmm. Because there's no other country around the world that does it before their domestic sports.
I also think it's disrespectful to the singer that's actually singing. So our good friend of the podcast, love her to death, Arlette.
Yes.
I would hate for somebody to do that while she's singing. Because I know her personally. I'm not saying anything. Because I know her personally. How do you handle that as a singer? I would hate to be in that position. It'd be awkward that you're belting out being respectful. Like if you're singing the national anthem on a big stage, 16, 18,000 people in a hockey arena, or even an outdoor game, right? Let's say 50, 60,000 people, and you're belting it out, and then you're hearing boos because people have opinion. It's like, how do you ignore that? How do you ignore that?
So a couple things. One, I know for a fact because you and I have spoken to her about it. Arlette is very proud to be a naturalized immigrant here in the United States, and she's very proud to be able to sing, our national anthem from her, her story coming here from the Caribbean and becoming a citizen. But I think if you're a performer and if you're singing a song like a national anthem, first of all, if you're a performer, you kind of have to tune out what you may hear from, just like the athletes on the ice. You've got to tune out if someone's booing you. It's just like you just have to do your thing. And especially with geopolitical issues, if they're pretty hot, I think that's really when you know, like, okay, well, I'm singing. I don't want to call it a controversial song, but they're performing a song that could potentially cause some reaction. And I feel like that as a performer, you go, you do your thing, you perform, and you move on from it. You don't take it personally. You know what the situation is, and if you do take it personally, then I think that's one of those things where it's like, then obviously your beliefs and your feelings are tied in with your performance, and then that's something that you've got to figure out on your own. But I think that I don't want to speak for Arlette, but I'm gonna make an assumption here. I'm gonna make an assumption that because of Arlette's story and what she's done, and her moving here, that she would probably not agree with it, but I don't know. And we can ask her this the next time we see her. This is a perfect question to ask Arlette when we see her next time. I have a feeling my thought would be that she would not be thrilled to hear it, but I think that she would also understand the people aren't booing her. They're booing the song. They're not booing the person.
Yeah.
But we can ask her that. Actually, this is a great question to ask her next time we see her, because I would love to know her opinion on it.
Yeah.
So
well, if we ever ask her on air, I think we should tell her for not surprise her on live air.
No. This is definitely a conversation.
Yeah.
This is definitely a piece of a different conversation I would like to have with her, off air, because we're lucky enough to call someone like her a friend. We're lucky enough to have heard her story. I think she said it on air with us, but also to talk to her about it and get her own personal anecdotes. But I would love to just kind of pick her brain, like, kind of like what you just asked, like, how do you feel? What do you do? Like, just from her perspective. Yeah. Because that's an interesting perspective that in all this noise about what this is going on, like, that's something like, maybe no one's thought about, but we have that avenue to ask someone about it.
Yeah. So the Four Nations tournament is coming up very shortly, and I've expressed my opinion that this could be bad for the NHL. Now, there has been I just want to say there has been a pause on the tariffs for 30 days. So there's not going to be, most likely not going to be like, okay, in the middle of the tournament, whatever. But there could be, you never know. You got two nations, Canada and the United States, where the tournament's being played. We haven't heard anybody in the United States booing, right? The Canadian national anthem. At this point, it's all been in Canada so far.
No, it's only been in Canada, and at this point, I think it would just be like a retaliatory booing in regards to that. But I also don't think I've heard anything. No.
Yeah. Now, I wonder, because you know how, like, I'm making an analogy here. You know how, like, some sports fans, like Ranger fans, are like, if there's a fight at Prudential Center and the Ranger, between a Devils fan and a Ranger fan, and the Ranger fan goes, "Well, that stuff doesn't happen in Madison Square Garden," but we all know it does.
We do.
I'm wondering if that's going to happen. It's like, oh, well, we don't do it, or whatever, or show some class or whatever. I'm just wondering, like, what about where the final game is going to be played? In that, say if it's USA versus Canada in the United States. I mean, do you think from the optics standpoint it's going to look bad in front of the mainstream media? Because every news channel is going to pick it up. Every cable news channel or whatever are going to use it as a talking point, whether you're both sides of the aisle.
They will. But I also think that it's a possibility, Sam. It's a possibility that it could happen. And if it does, it does.
Well, I fear that's. I fear. I'll tell you what I fear about it. I fear that it might hurt the game from a general audience standpoint. Because some people have not been exposed to hockey in the United States. There's a lot of people that have never been exposed. But if this is all they see, because a lot of people think of hockey, it's just fighting. Obviously, we're hockey fans. There's more than just fighting, right? There's a lot of skill. There's a lot of strategy. There's speed. There's amazing acrobatic plays, all that. It's exciting. It's fast. I wonder if this is going to be a problem for the NHL, and I'm wondering if the NHL is already preparing for for the worst.
Like damage control. I don't know if it would be. I don't know. I don't think it would be that detrimental to the league. If someone's going to be so close-minded because they see a 30-second clip on the news and say, "Oh, I don't want to even pay attention because of that," then they're probably just going to be a passive fan anyway. Great, go ahead. You can go have your closed-minded view about that. If that's the reason why, if you're not going to like hockey because a bunch of Canadians are booing the national anthem because they're unhappy with what's going on geopolitically, that's great. I mean, their mind was probably never going to stick with hockey anyway.
Yeah.
So I don't really think it would be that detrimental. It's also press, and you're also not considering that maybe some people would be like, hey, look at this, people are booing the national anthem, I might want to get into this, people are active, that is also out there because you also have people that would.
You make a great point. You make a great point because any publicity is good publicity.
Yes.
I mean, that's something I'm learning from you in this podcast right now. I never even thought that point of view. Because I'm all doom and gloom. I'm like, you're ruining the NHL Shield brand. They're going to hate us.
Gary Bettman has done more than enough to ruin the league over his 10 years as commissioner. And the league still exists. In fact, the salary cap's going up pretty tremendously over the next 3 years. You know what? This could potentially wind up bringing more eyeballs to the league, and it could bring a lot more people into the league as well. Because there are a bunch of people that probably think it's just a white guy sport, which it predominantly is. But if there's some dissent, sometimes people love dissent, and they love where there's disagreement, and that could bring more people in, and that's fine.
You know what? A wonderful lawyer told me this once. Not A.J. Visco, of the law office of A.J. Visco. Always told me there's always profit in chaos. And if it's chaotic, it could be. It could be. I don't know. Maybe it's overblown. I just, obviously it's a hot topic issue right now outside of hockey. There's always people that, have their opinions, whatever. What I hate is when somebody imposes their opinion and try to like force their opinion on you and expecting change, or kind of like alpha dog the conversation. For me, it's I love to hear the other side. I love another perspective, and I love the whatchamacallit, the challenge to kind of poke holes in it, but at the same time educate myself what another person is thinking. So, Steve Engel, this is just one time that we're talking about a topic. We We could go back to hockey later, but this is just
listen,
one Woo report.
Listen, sports. Listen, there's a lot of people in this country that say sports should stay out of politics, but sports are intertwined with politics. We can get into a much longer discussion about world football and the way that just sectarian, political, you name it's all wrapped in.
Yeah.
You know, I think that we're one of the areas that uniquely sports is not. That politics and sports are just more recently becoming intertwined. It's, I'll just briefly say, Celtic versus Rangers in Scotland. Look up the Old Firm Derby. You want to see sectarian political. That's one of the best examples, and that's not the only example. So, you know what? It's becoming a new. It's definitely becoming a new theater for it, and I don't even think theater is the right word. But you know what? We're one of the places where it's not been intertwined up until recently, but it's common around the world.
Yeah. Well, Shorts guy, you've educated me on the other side. You've talked me off the ledge. Now I'm thinking, hey, this is going to be good for the Four Nations. Now I'm just like, I actually came away actually happy about this. Because I was all doom and gloom. I'm like, this can't be right. And then I was like, I remember the old principle. There's always profit in chaos. So who knows? It may bring people to hockey. You know, you never know. One day, 20 years, how'd you get into hockey? That was a Four Nations tournament where they were booing each other.
Well, and hopefully people are smart enough to know that there are more than 4 nations around the world that play hockey.
Yeah,
that's
hopefully.
That's a bigger argument for the sport for a later day.
Yeah. Also, Steve Engel that wants to go back to hockey. Well, tomorrow we have a lot of hockey. It is going to be a triple header Tuesday. We got At the Point with myself and Bruce Zeman talking about NHL hockey. We got Game Day Live. I don't even know who's on Game Day Live, but we'll figure it out.
I can't be. I know that.
Yeah.
I guess.
But we'll figure it out.
Stuff to do.
We'll figure it out. For the Devils take on the Pittsburgh Penguins, and then you got Devils After Dark after the game. Scotty of SiriusXM, Liquid Metal, and I will recap the game that was. So if you want to get back into hockey, we're going to do that, Steve Engel. And, of course, Wednesday. Then Wednesday, we got State of the Fan Address presented by pucksandpitchforks.com. Nick Villano, the editor-in-chief, and I will go at it at 8:30 p.m. Eastern on Wednesday. Then Thursday, you're going to have the repeat of the triple header on Tuesday with At the Point, Game Day Live, and Devils After Dark.
Game Day Live I will be on.
Yeah. And and by the way, meow meow, I will be at American Whiskey for Game Day Live and possibly Devils After Dark, depending on how I feel that day. And then Friday, you sneak in a Woo report, and then you got another, again, doubleheader Saturday before the pause for the Four Nations tournament. So, yeah. And we can all agree on one thing, says Steve Engel. Dougie Hamilton is trash. No, I like Dougie Hamilton right now.
Yeah, I like him too. I got his jersey.
Yeah. You know what? I don't know. All right, so we're going to get out of here. Also, our sister podcast, Hockey on Tap, is going on at 8 p.m. Eastern on the Primetime Radio Network. Just type in Hockey on Tap. Billy Dean, Lil Steve. Schwim won't be there because it's anniversary, so happy anniversary to Schwim.
Yes.
And
I was
Cynthia.
at that wedding. I had a couple of beers.
2 years. 2 years with Schwim, the guy that used to steal TVs out of hockey rinks, even though he can't even lift up that Sony Wega years ago. I can't believe I still bring that up after all this time because it's still the funniest thing I've ever seen.
It is
somebody,
still the funniest darn thing.
Somebody allegedly did, right? All righty. Well, Mrs. Wu just came home. I hear the footsteps as I'm inside the bunker. So we're going to get out of here. Thank you, Shorts Guy. Have a good podcast with Hockey on Tap, guys. Thank you to all those that are tuning in dropping the podcast at midnight for your morning and afternoon commute. Just remember, we'll be back for a triple header Tuesday tomorrow. Till next time, this is the Woo Report. Let's go Devils.